what I'm learning here is all of my natural tendencies, all of the common sense things are the wrong thing to do.
Yes.
Generally.
Which is super spooky, right? So
right.
I remember what it was like to learn this too, guys. I used to play piano for a living. I didn't know anything about this stuff. So yeah, learning that like the way that people do things in the building industry is actually not the best way to do it, and in many cases it's just the wrong way to do it.
It's a waste, yeah, it's a waste of time, effort, money.
Very disturbing. I have a hard time going to the doctor now because I understand that just because you do something all day long every day doesn't mean you actually are doing it the right way.
So today is going to be, I think, an interesting video. Something I'm really interested in is, I'm going to be building this garage at some point in the next year or so, or 2 or 3, who knows. But the plan is to build an extremely efficient and structurally sound building that will last forever. And I've always thought there was a better way to do this. You generally would go and you hire a contractor, and if you're lucky, he has some clue on new technologies and things like insulation and making sure the truss design is proper, and working with engineers to make sure the house is properly designed. But I'd always had this belief or this suspicion, just like with anything, that there's a better way to do things. There's an obsessed way to build a house, and then there's just a way to build a house. And although I'm interested in it, I'm not obsessed with it. And so this today is going to be a start or entry into something called home performance. So Corbett's come down from Atlanta. I met him, Bryan, who did my carrier system in the house. He helped us do Adam LZ's garage with a lift install. If you haven't seen that video, it's a funny one. But Bryan Orr's coming up, and so Kalos would most likely build my garage with a lot of testing and design done by Corbett. And so today we're going to go through my house, dig into it, and he's going to identify problems, share some really neat, really interesting testing equipment. And I thought I'd put it on Obsessed Garage because I know that a lot of you guys probably share the same interest in this that I do. This interest in efficiency, interest in proper construction. I mean, my house is here, we can't tear it down, but there are certainly going to be some things that we can do to improve upon it, to improve efficiency and make sure the home is performing properly. So that's what this video is going to be about, and hopefully we'll get some decent performance, but my guess is we're going to get some pretty lackluster numbers that we're going to have to figure out how to improve by making some insulation adjustments, making some adjustments on how the doors are closed. There's a lot of stuff that I'm not aware of, which I think is going to be pretty neat. So hang around for the video, and we'll all learn something today. Look who it is.
Are we already on camera?
It's the legend.
This is what he does.
Bright and early.
You want us to do an awkward high five?
No. Back at the house.
Glad to be back.
Corbett.
All right.
Mr. Bryan Orr.
Let's do this thing. Assistants? Oh yeah, we got you. Get the assistants.
Oh, this is great.
Brought some highly trained assistants as well.
All right, let's do it.
Okay.
This stuff looks expensive.
Yeah. These are my cases. Cases. They're for musicians, which is what I used to do.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's cool. Then you just cut the foam out and make it fit whatever you need to fit in it. That's pretty smart. I like that. I like to make something like that for like detailing, measuring equipment, for all the detailing and measuring that I don't do. But it would be cool to have.
All right.
So you would do this blower door on the side door, not the front door?
As long as you have a rectangular door, not an arched door, then
it doesn't matter.
As long as you're not doing it in a vestibule where you need to like close up. Honestly, there's going to be a little bit of like stuff going on with this hallway, but it's not appreciable.
These things are awesome, and that's anodized aluminum.
Yeah, this is not a toy. This is
awesome.
Also not for rent, probably, anywhere. And it shouldn't be, because you could do bad things to a house with this.
Oh, really?
Yeah, you could backdraft sewer gases into a house. You could set a house on fire. If you had this going at the right time or at the wrong time. So yeah, you have to set the
so
house
where do you
up.
buy something like this? Is that you buy it direct from the company?
Yeah, like I get all my stuff from True Tech Tools. I don't get paid to say that, but there's kind of groups of people who know what
Who deal in this?
tools
Yeah.
are, and so yeah. I mean, I don't buy this from. I don't just
Home
walk into
Depot.
a store.
Right.
Research. Just
Well,
this is perfect for your.
yeah, I mean, pretty much anything that we're dealing with, you can't walk into a store and buy it.
Right, and you wouldn't want to because the guy who you're dealing with doesn't know how it works or like what specific configuration you'd want.
Exactly. This is app controlled, or can be.
Yeah, all the best stuff. I mean, we live in an age where you can do this stuff. So I used to be on a 2-person crew, and I had an assistant with me all the time. But now I can run everything
All
myself.
of your equipment.
I could let myself into your attic, turn my fan back on, so that I can do stuff. It's a pretty cool.
Make adjustments
So,
on the
yeah.
fly. That's cool.
You don't really want this fan running while you step outside because it is trying to match pressure all the time. So if you open a door, the fan goes and tries to get the pressure
Compensate,
back.
yeah.
Yeah, and so then when you close the door, it slams shut because it sucks.
So this little fan can pressurize my entire 4,000 square foot house.
Yeah.
But aren't there all kinds of? Well, I guess we're going to find out. There's going to be all kinds of leaks all over the place, or is that what it's supposed
That's
to?
exactly. Yeah, that's what we're going to find out is.
So are we going to feel it? Are we going to feel the pressure in here?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. You'll feel it if you close a door almost all the way and you put your hand up. You'll feel wind coming from there, and that's an indication that we have a leak in that room. So.
Interesting. So what does looking at the plans have to do with? Just gives you an idea where to test, or?
No, in order to know what the test means, it's like, in a car sense, and I'm not much of a car guy, but I do understand enough about what you do with your audience that you have to use the right tool for the job.
Gotcha.
And the right materials for the job. And so, like, doing an emissions test on a Porsche, doing an emissions test on a VW, doing an emissions test on a really crappy junker from India, you would want to know what in context would it mean. So if I just get some numbers, they don't mean anything unless I put them in context of what the house actually is. So I'm going to build a 3D model real quick of the house and then be able to do some quick calculations.
Sounds to me a lot like dynoing your car. You could go dyno your car at one dyno, and then the next dyno, if you use 2 different dynos, the results aren't useful.
Yes.
So if I put an exhaust on the car and improve the flow, I need to go back to the same dyno with similar conditions in order to get some reliable tests.
Yes, exactly.
Got it. So how do you start doing this? You can just wake up one morning and say, I'm going to start doing home performance testing?
No, I waited for the universe to tell me. I used to play piano for a living, and I made like $25,000 a year every year, which was not as fun as it sounds.
Yeah.
And so my wife was an actress at the same time, and so we decided to go into something else, and I waited for the universe to tell me what that was, and this came up. So it was kind of fortuitous, but somebody told me that this must be a thing, and I thought, oh, that sounds reasonable.
Yeah, that's how I do things.
Yeah, right.
Right, Brian?
Should have sent this to me beforehand. That would have been nice.
Oh, that's okay.
Oh, this is better. I get to see how this happens.
See, this is the kind of stuff that I really am bad at. Right? You have to have a level of discipline to just sit there and look at plans and model stuff, and that's...
Really? You'd rather just do it?
I just have a hard... I look at a set of plans and my mind starts to just swim.
See, I love plans. I actually like plans better than...
Reality.
Yeah.
I love it. I love the idea of plans, like seeing them in my own house.
See, I can envision, like, if you give me a set of plans, I can see it in my head. Like I can envision what it's going to be.
Numbers here. 2876.
Are the door open?
What is that red thing on the door?
Yeah.
That's called a blower door, I think.
That's exactly right.
Is that cool with you?
Daddy, I need to go poo-poo.
Oh, go see Mama. That's a Mama job.
No.
So Bryan,
No, you are not filming this.
come on, do it.
Oh no.
This is just in case,
Dude, no. This is. I'm gonna look like such a fool.
so I can prove your.
Michelle, if this is bad, do not let him put this.
Okay, I'm just gonna stand right here in case you start falling. Go, go. Oh, you got it.
Look at those triceps. Steel, Bryan. It's for structural integrity.
I've never seen a house like this ever.
It's better.
Ever in my life.
It's my house. It's better.
Wow, this is insulated for no reason.
Well, I had them blow it in there.
Oh, you did? Oh,
They're probably like, look at this idiot.
really? Yeah. So now when it's pulled all off, it's gonna blow a place. But this is really where it needs to be, because this right here is all open underneath the floor system. There's nothing sealing that.
Well, why wouldn't it be a lot more efficient if you sealed all that off when you're building the house?
Right.
Yeah.
Just nobody does.
That's
They
dumb.
don't think about it. It's nobody's job. Truss guy, he just sets the trusses and the framer just frames.
Yeah,
Nobody
the
thinks
drywaller
about-
comes to put drywall over everything and you're screwed.
Right. And that's the building performance side of it. It's like, it's good to have somebody who's thinking about those details, because nowhere on the prints does it say install, plywood blocking
Right.
at the truss tails. So I mean, there's a couple different options of how this can be handled. I mean, it could be sealed off you could seal everything. But you see, like there's, you can see daylight in through here.
All right.
All these gaps, anywhere like that is, it's outdoor air coming in, which is laden with humidity in Florida.
Right. Bryan and I just did a bunch of nothing, so we checked the nothing off the list. So now what?
Cool. So right now we've got a couple things happening. I have created, which is an important step, a 3D model of the house, not because I'm trying to duplicate what the architect did. The architect does not figure out how much volume, how much air there is inside of the house. So now I have the ability to figure out exactly how much air is contained inside of the shape of your house. So this is a very crude model, but it serves the purpose of being able to interpret what tests we're going to do mean. And we're also monitoring the pressure inside the house with reference to outside, because we have the blower door set up first thing, and that's an important step, because the first thing I'm going to do is come over here to you, Bryan.
But the blower door's not on yet, right? Is it?
The blower door is not on. You'll know when it's on. Is that we are going to figure out what this does to your house. So you can hear how massive that is, but what it's actually doing to the house is hardly anything. So that's very interesting for us to know.
That would your vent would reduce pressure in the house.
No, that's a perfect seal. So all we're doing right now is kind of monitoring what happens in the house when we do things to it. So the fact that I can kick on this gigantic commercial exhaust hood and nothing really happens to the house pressure. In my house, for example, if I turn on my exhaust hood, it's basically a blower door test on my house until a little special vent opens up and relieves the pressure.
Because of the size.
Because of the tightness of the house.
Gotcha.
Right, so the size of the house, what I just figured out is I turned on what is a giant fan, and either this fan doesn't pull very hard, which is probably unlikely, or the house is leaky enough that it just gets back the air immediately from outside. So that's why we're going to do the blower door test. But once you do the blower door test, and once you potentially invest in air tightening, you want to retest what the house can do to itself, because you don't want to release a house back into the wild of not having a professional there to always manage everything, and have this kind of a thing have an effect where, for example, if you were making a fire and you turned this on because you started burning food, you would potentially pull smoke back down the chimney because it would fight the fire hard enough. Or when the fire's not on at all, it's very easy to fight the fire, so you'd smell like soot inside your house. That kind of thing can happen. You can also backdraft into carbon monoxide, blah, blah, blah. So essentially what we're going to do is first take a look around the house, because there's something outside I'd like to just point out, kind of a feature of how architects put things together to make it pretty for American home buyers, that makes it kind of difficult in the performance control world. So let's take a walk outside real quick.
What is that?
This is an infrared camera.
Okay.
So yeah, I brought 6 infrared cameras with me today. It's got a really narrow field of view. I don't do that because I'm a freak. I did it because it's always fun to give to the client just, you know, have them look around. So there's all kinds of features of this that you can kind of dial in and see exactly what you're looking for. You can pull focus, etc., etc. So right now I'm not looking at the infrared, I'm just starting my report process because you want to kind of know everything about the house. In your case, I'm aware that your kid's room is hot. Wait, it's not you. Yeah, I mean, like, why
I don't know what you're
the
talking
camera?
about.
Hold the camera. Your kid's room is hot, is that correct?
It can be, yeah.
It can be hot. Okay, cool. Is there anything else particularly that you are interested in knowing about?
Well, one of the things Brian and I were just talking about is in Kate's room on this side. I mean, we had condensation on the roof.
Yeah. Okay, let's go take a look at that, because that is the side I wanted to show everybody.
You know, it's got all kinds of fancy angles and...
Get yourself a McMansion, Maddie.
Physically, all that happens, and anybody who watches your channel will get this, which I love about what you're doing is explaining very technical things in a, you know, hopefully a simple to understand way for people who are trying to get more and more technical. But just to remind ourselves of like 8th grade physics, warm air rises. Everybody knows that. Cool air sinks. We're in Florida. Most of the time you're going to be creating cool air inside the house, which means most of the air is going to try and be sinking down. If the house was made out of something flexible, it would look like a pear. It'd be fat at the bottom and skinny at the top. It's not made out of something flexible, and so instead what happens, you get high pressure in the bottom, and the air is literally pushing, trying to get out along the connection between the slab and the bottom of the wall. That's called the sill plate, or the bottom plate. And then the house, when it loses air out through the kind of holes and penetrations and all the stuff, generally don't worry about weather stripping and windows and stuff. That's like kind of DIY beginner stuff. There's more kind of hidden things inside the construction of the house, which your car audience understands. There's all kinds of hidden stuff that you can't actually touch in a car. So same thing here. When the house loses air, it sucks air in because you can't have a vacuum. So it breathes in at the most depressurized place, which is the top. So when you look at a house, especially in Florida, and this works in heating climates as well, if the top of the house is very complicated, it is very unlikely that that house will have a good control over its air seal, which leads to comfort, which leads to condensation, which leads to air quality. Basically everything that has to do with everything inside of a house and control starts with air leakage. So we look at the top of the house and we see, oh, an architect really designed a lot of beautiful stuff into the top, which makes it great for somebody like me to come along and find out, like, okay, here are all the opportunities for improvement. So when we're looking here, all I'm doing right now is just kind of assessing, probably in the attic. If I can have access to the attic, there's going to be a lot of interesting stuff. So do we have access to the attic?
We have it open now.
Let's go in the attic. And by the way, this is the backstage. So anytime anybody is about to buy a house, I highly recommend you go in the attic, because if you want to know about how a house works, the whole story is in the attic. Exterior walls. So having ductwork built into the exterior wall makes it a little, like, for the HVAC contractor that comes along, I'm sure you saw this and you're like, I'd like to fix this. Here's my bid for, you know, but
Tearing out your wall. And...
Yeah, and what that means is if there's a duct here, number one, there's not insulation in there, because you can't fit both things in there. So you've got no insulation, and you've got something that's going to be transmitting a lot more temperature to the outside. There's a lot more heat bleed between the outside and this cavity of the wall.
So your choice there is...
Don't ever put ducts in that exterior wall.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Okay, so we're in the attic, if you can't tell. The attic is important because you can verify a lot of stuff and kind of predict what you expect to see with the testing. Since the testing is the whole thing, that's the entire principle of having better home performance control. You want to know what you expect to see with the test before you run a test. Don't just run a test and be like, oh, I got a number, I don't know what it means, because you could potentially, like, you know, worst case scenario for somebody like me, I could be about to die and I wouldn't know what the number meant if you're testing carbon monoxide. So here, we expect there's a room right next to the master bedroom that has a different ceiling height than the master bedroom does. So there is your drop. That is always a dead giveaway that there is something complicated going on in the wall framing system that is very unlikely, unless somebody specifically came in to air seal, they wouldn't have been able to fix the air leakage problems that then come from that. So probably what you have is an open cavity that I could just stick my hand down into. And yes, it does appear that that is what we'll see. So when I do the infrared scan, I'm going to be particularly interested in that juncture right there when I'm inside the house. So I only have to come up here one time just to kind of see what I expect. There's also this, which is a good thing. That's the exterior wall. They put in a top plate at the top of the exterior wall, where it meets the attic. That is good. This little gap though right here, where I can stick my finger, is enough of a gap since there's that constant pressure at work, the stack effect, the cool air sinking, the warm air rising. That will make a difference, and we'll probably be able to see that when we run the blower door with the infrared. So that's all we really have to do up here, is just to see right around the attic hatch what is going on, because if the stuff didn't get done right around the attic hatch where it's easiest, there is no way somebody crawled all the way over there and did some good work over there. So if you find potential issues here, they're everywhere. So let's go back into the comfort of conditioned space.
What happens when the force pulls you back, your foot naturally comes off the gas. You have to keep your foot to the floor, foot to the floor.